All right, so we are going to start. Make sure this camera is, I think that'll be pretty good. So let's start, we're going to do some kind of core compressions and progressions today. And I want to start on your back. So we're just going to start to try to feel and connect into our deep abdominals. So remembering our deepest layer of abdominal muscles, the transversus abdominals, that layer actually kind of is like a cylinder that connects all the way up to your sixth rib, right? So that's the middle of your ribs. So it connects the base of your pelvic floor all the way up to your sixth ribs, and it has effects that go, basically all the way up to your head and neck as well. So the easiest place to connect to those deep abdominals is low between your belly button and your pubic bone. And that's because we have a thicker layer of fascia down there. It's like near, C-section land, that we can actually palpate and feel those muscles a little bit more. They're very deep, but that fascial layer that runs kind of across the hips is the easiest place for us to sense those muscles. That's why we go down there. But it does affect everything above and below basically as well. Honestly, down into your feet as well. But we won't get into that all today. So when you lie on your back, I want to just start by establishing our neutral pelvis. So you've got your pubic bone and your navel about on the same plane. Then let's kind of rock in between that sort of neutral pelvis just to kind of get the extremes of it. So when your small of the back presses down into the floor, right, you feel your hip bones roll back and down towards the floor, right? So that's a posterior tilt of the pelvis. I won't quiz you on this, but just so you know. And then as your hip bones, right, those hip pointers roll up towards the ceiling, towards the front of the body, up and forward towards your toes. That's an anterior tilt of the pelvis. You'll probably feel more space at your lumbar spine, the low back. So go through those two places, right? So it's like the low back lengthens out onto the mat, and then it sort of gives you a little bit more of an exaggerated curve. If you imagine your pelvis is like filled with water, you could spill towards your toes and then spill back into the low back, into those low ribs. Okay, so those are sort of the extremes our pelvis can do. And then you can just sort of find the place in the middle. So we're back to belly button and pubic bone on the same plane. It actually should feel a little looser after just those few little pelvic tilts. That's great to do if you've been sitting a long time or in the car a long time. So now if you find those hip bones, your little hip pointers, right, I always say that's the spot where you maybe would bump your hips on the kitchen counter. I want you to kind of go inwards. So now I'm below my belly button, right? But in the middle, around there, I want you to take a breath in, let your belly fill with air. And now as you exhale, feel the belly empty out that air. So you're going to feel your tummy pull back towards your spine. So that's the old belly button to spine feeling. But I want you to try to maintain your neutral while you do that. So I'm not flattening my back into the mat. I'm not squeezing my butt or pushing my feet into the floor to get that to happen. That's a little bit more of like a bridging sensation. So keep your neutral. Bring those fingertips in between your hip bones. You're going to breathe in, let that belly rise, and then breathe out. Feel the tummy pull back to the spine. And if you imagine that you could like pull a sash around your waist, you should feel the sides of the waist draw in a little closer to the spine as well, right? So if those abdominals are a corset, right, it's kind of a cylinder, we're drawing the whole low belly closer to the spine, front, sides, and backs of the body in. Try that one more time. Breathe in. It's like you can make a smaller version of your waist. Breathe in. And then breathe out. Flatten the belly. Drawing everything in closer to the spine. You can even add a little lift up of the pelvic floor, right? Like a blueberry is pulling up from the pelvic floor up to your belly button. I guess it's on a conveyor belt here, up to the belly button. Okay, so you have that tone. Yeah.
I have a question about the blueberry. Is that basically like doing a Kegel?
Yeah, it's basically your Kegel, right? Okay. So without clenching your butt cheeks, yeah, you want to imagine lifting that blueberry, with a Kegeling sensation up. So yes, good question. So, and it's a lot, you know, it's like maybe you don't have to do much more than maybe about 50% muscular activity, maybe even less than that. It's a real light pull from there. So you're not overworking all those muscles. So good question. So now that you've got that tone, let's do one more time. So breathe in, we're gonna add on. So breathe out, make your smaller version of your waist. Feel the collarbones open wide, shoulders relaxed. Kind of gently lift up that blueberry. And now I want you to lift one leg up to tabletop. Keep the tummy pulled in without pooching up to the ceiling. Keep that cylinder. I want you to lift the left leg up to match it. Ooh, sometimes that's harder than you think it's going to be. Now, did your back arch off of the mat? You want to soften your heart, soften the ribs, keep them down, but keep your neutral pelvis. And I want you to tap your right toes down to the floor and then lift them back up. Inhale. Exhale, tap the left toes down and then back up. So again, if you want to keep your hands on your low belly, to notice, we want to only lower down as far as you can go without your belly pooching up to the ceiling. It's my technical term, the pooch. And lift. So we're moving the legs from deep inside our hip sockets, right? You imagine that ball and socket joint, that shiny little pinball rolling around in the hip socket. To tap one leg down and then tap the other leg down. We're gonna do that one more time each side. Again, make sure the back is down on your mat. Feel the crown of the head reach out behind you so your whole spine gets nice and long, and then hug those knees into your chest. Nice deep breath in and out there. And then we're going to find that tabletop again. So I want you to, again, bring the feet down onto the ground. We're going to add a little movement with the arms. So I want you to breathe in. Feel yourself make that smaller version of your waist. So flatten across the hip bones. Also like to use that image like you could pull saran wrap. Tight across the hips. Lift up that blueberry. Lift one leg up to tabletop. Roll from that shiny pinball. And then lift the other leg up to match. Now bring your elbows up over your shoulders. So it's like you've got tabletop arms. Now tap your right toes to the floor and your left fingertips back behind you. And then bring that back up. And then try the other side. Now again, you want to try to maintain your neutral pelvis as you tap. This is opposite arm and leg. Notice if you want to do same arm and leg, that's also interesting. But try opposite arm and leg back. So we're starting to wake up those oblique systems in the body. Right, those are the muscles that help us side bend and twist. All the while, every exhale, I'm reestablishing that smaller waist. I'm trying to soften my jaw, soften my throat. Even tension up there in your neck and facial muscles can affect how your core functions. So you want to keep that soft. You want to keep your back on the mat. One more each side. Try to even that out. So you should start to feel those abs warming up. Lift those knees back up, lift the elbows up, and then rest. Give those knees a little hug into the chest. Okay, so these are all little bird dog variations, or actually, I'm sorry, this is dead bug. Bird dog is once we come up onto hands and knees. So our dead bug variations here. Next one is bring the feet down, take a breath in, establish that core connection. See, maybe it's getting a little easier to find because maybe they're a little more awake now. Feel that gentle kegel, that pelvic floor lift. Lift one leg at a time back up to tabletop. Now arms are straight. You're going to, instead of the knees bent, I want you to reach your right leg straight out and your left arm straight up back over your head. Again, keep the ribs down, keep flattening those abs, and then bring them back in. Try the other side. So you start to notice as the leg reaches longer away from the body, the arm is reaching further away from your body. It puts more tension and stress on the core to help try to keep us stable. Using that breath, shoulders are sliding down away from the ears, right? So you're coming out of that turtle shell. Let's do one more on each side. Actually, I think this makes me even one more this way, one more this way, and then bring that back in, shake it out. One more little grand finale here. So you can, if you don't like the progressions and you want to stay, maybe just with your toe taps, you can always do that, or just, stay with bent knees, bent elbows. But if you want to try one more, both legs straight, both arms straight, breathe in, I want you to saran wrap those abdominals first. Feel that deep transverse abdominal connection. Now lower your right leg straight down, lower your left arm straight down. So now we've got our longest line, lifting that back up, and then switch. Again, make sure you're doing opposite arm and leg. Switch, and lift, and switch, keeping that back on the ground, and lift, and switch, lengthening through the crown of the head, and switch, and lift. A couple more of those. Let's go 4. Every exhale, reestablish that core. And 3, I'm inhaling to reach away. Exhaling to lift right now. Last 2. Flatten on those exhales. And last 1. And lift. Good. And then give those knees a little hug in to the chest. Great. So that was all opposite arm and leg. Let's try a version with same arm and leg. So I want you to, again, let's reestablish feet down on the ground, maybe even rock and roll your knees side to side for a second. Just give yourself a little rotation here because we've been on our low back a bit. So find the center, feel your pubic bone and navel on the same plane, right? Saran wrap across that bikini line. Feel your pinball, spin that pinball to lift one leg up and then the other. Now place your hands behind your head. Slightly lift the elbows up to the ceiling, breathe in. And now as you exhale, I want you to soften the heart, nod the chin to the chest and lift the head, neck, and shoulders up. So we're just hovering off the ground. Now I'm gonna lean towards you guys. I'm gonna try to lift my right hip and my right shoulder up. So now I'm balancing on my left side of my body without completely falling over, right? So you just want to find that little hover balance through the center, inhale. And now lift your left hip and your left shoulder up. And then I come back through center, really try to find my neutral. I'm not flattening my back, trying to find my neutral pelvis and then lift that right shoulder, right hip up. Inhale through center, my legs are hip width. Left side lifts. So we're rocking the boat through the center, right side lifts. Keep that chin tucked slightly so the back of the neck is long. Left side lifts. One more each side, right side up. And left side up. Find the center, breathe in, and then let that relax down. Great. One more version of that unilateral movement of the body, right? So same side moving together. Now reach both legs up to the ceiling. About hip width still. Saran wrap those abdominals. Heavy pubic bone, arms up. Now this time, so I'm not going to support my head with my hands. If you want to, you can go back to here. That's fine if your neck is getting cranky. If not, I want you to nod the chin to the chest. So you feel the back of the neck get long, breathe in. And then exhale, soften the heart, lift the upper body up without jutting the neck forward, right? Keep the length. Now breathe in. Lift the right hip, the right shoulder up. Woo! Through the center. Left side lifts. Inhale, center. So a lot more balance challenge. Right side lifts. Or you're here, hands behind the head. Left side lifts. You don't have to get the legs all the way straight either, right? If that feels like it's too much, bend the knees. That's fine. Shoulders down away from the ears. Left side up. Long back of the neck. Right side. Notice if one side's a little trickier than the other. Left, lift that hip, lift that shoulder. One more each way. Right side up. Woo. And left side up. And then we'll let that relax down. Great job. Rock those knees right and left one more time so those abs are nice and warm. And we're going to go into a set of hundreds from here. Oh boy. So we've done lots of opposite work. We've done lots of unilateral work. And now we're going to go right into the center for some hundreds. So let's do a little classical version of this. If you do not like this, just hang out and tabletop for me. But if you want a little adventure today, I'm leaving you guys with this while I go on vacation. Hug your legs together on the ground. Inner thighs, knees, and ankles squeeze together. Reach your arms over your head. All right, our core is nice and warm. Breathe in, right? So hundreds are usually the warm up. So now we've warmed up for hundreds. Exhale, nod the chin to the chest. Start to lift the upper body up. And I want you to get long and reach the legs up too. And now your legs are going to go to that point where you're like, okay, this is about where I can hang out today. Okay, we're going to breathe in for 4 counts. Out for 6. And 2. Reach those hands long past the hips. Again, if this is too much, hang out here. Here's 5. 4 inhales. And exhale. Here's 7. Smaller version of that waist with each exhale. 2 more sets. Last set. Great, let that rest. Oh, rock and roll side to side. So that core should be nice and warm. So carefully roll onto your side, and we're gonna come up onto all 4s. So now we're gonna progress similarly, but on our all 4s position, right? So you just have to think a lot of this stuff is the same, just with different forces of gravity on the body. So we were just on our back, supine, doing a whole bunch of core stability work. Now we're gonna be on all 4s doing some core stability. If you've got wrist stuff, you guys know you can roll up your mat or grab some yoga bricks or something. And then you can, this is actually pretty nice, you have a little extra padding, let your fingertips hang forward of your mat. So then you don't have as much of a bend in the wrist, okay? So do that if you need it. Again, yoga bricks, you can do the same thing, or some books or something. But mats here, might as well use it. So I've got my legs again about hip width apart. My knees are under my hips. My hands are under my shoulders. And I want to start with just a little arch and curl of the low back. So this is just what we did on the floor. So I'm actually not going to do a full cat and cow. I want you to try to find neutral. And then remember that posterior and anterior tilt of the pelvis we started with? Can you try to just move your pelvis? Just like you did on the mat, front and back. So you're starting to just play with where your pelvic placement can go. My hands, my wrists are right under my shoulders, right? So make sure your hands aren't in front of your shoulders. Great image is to make your, my funny image actually is to make sure your thumbs are under your nipples. So that brings your wrist right under your shoulders, okay? So after a couple more of these, rolling the pelvis front and back, let's start to bring the head with it. So now the whole spine is lifting up. Nice inhale here. So you're showing off your tail feathers. And then exhale, scoop the tail under. This is the posterior tilt of the pelvis. Scoop those ribs under, look down at the belly button. Spread the shoulder blades apart here instead of hiking them up to the ears. It's real easy to just let them lift up. Keep them down. Inhale, lift the head and tail up. Feel the front of the body open up. That's great after all those abs we did. And then exhale, curl the head and tail under. Lift those ribs up to the ceiling. Let's do one more of those. Ooh, that should feel good. Lift the head and tail up. Imagine the sitting bones widening here, right? So this is a good opener for the pelvic floor. And then exhale and curl that head and tail under one last time. And then bring that back to the center. So if you need to shake out your wrists for a second, feel free. So you can always come here. This is a nice little, just sort of easy wrist stretch you can do. Just kind of bring the backs of the hands together. Let the elbows soften. Let the shoulders soften. So it just kind of opens up the back of the wrist if you need a quick one, just to get some relief on the front of those hands, okay? So come back onto all 4s for me. So feel free to do that when you need it. So now we did these extremes. I want you to see if you can find your neutral. So imagine you've got a slippery pane of glass from your head down to your tail, and I want you to try to keep it there for me. So breathe in. And now as you exhale, I want you to try to saran wrap your abdominals again. So can you make a smaller version of your waist without tucking your tail under, okay? So keep that glass. Maybe even a teacup on your sacrum is a better image so that you're trying not to spill your tea back down towards your heels. Try that one more time, breathe in. Press those palms into the ground, try to keep that head perched on the shoulders, and now breathe out. Saran wrap across those hip bones. And again, a little bit of that Kegel. Can you lift your blueberry up? Now, without moving your hips, I want you to just hover your right knee up off of the ground, just an inch, hover it off the ground. So nothing's moving, just lifting my knee up. You can probably barely even see it, but it is off of the ground. All my other limbs are on the floor, and I'm trying to not hike my hip up and go into the fire hydrant with my knee. Okay, so it's staying right underneath me here instead of out to the side. All right, isn't that fun? Bring that knee back down, shoulders away from the ears, heads perched, breathe in. Tummy in, hover the left knee up. Keep long through the spine, tuck the chin under. Notice if you want to look forward and see the world, I want you to focus down on the mat with your long neck. Now bring that knee down, breathe in. Exhale, tummy pulls in, keep that pane of glass on the back. Lift your right knee up and now hover your left hand off of the ground. Again, just an inch with both of those limbs. Notice how much work you have to do with your grounding arm and leg. Heads perched, lower that arm and knee back down, breathe in. Saran wrap, lift your left knee up and your right hand up, or whichever ones you haven't done. Opposite arm and leg. Notice the difference again in your supporting limbs, and then lower that back down. Good, sit back in child's pose, rest for a second. Those are surprisingly hard, if you didn't notice. So trying to keep everything stable is really the way that we're gonna get those core muscles to fire up. We're gonna work on that again with some bigger actions now. So just wanted to get the little small actions to wake things up a bit more. So into a true bird dog, find that neutral spine, neutral pelvis, tummy pulls in. So I'm gonna reach my right leg back. Let's just tuck the toes and the left arm forward. Okay, so here's where you start with this. Now notice already if you wanted to kind of dump your spine down to the floor, I want you to feel the front of the ribs and the tummy lift up towards the front of the spine. And I want you to keep that connection, keep your saran wrap as you start to lift the right leg up and the left arm in front of you. So again, notice if you wanted to let your waist go to lift the leg up higher, I don't care how high the leg is, I want you to keep this neutral spine. Tuck the chin, feel the long back of the neck. Breathe in. Can you fill up those lungs? And now saran wrap the abs a little bit more. Lift the front of those ribs up more. Right, that's the same cue I was giving you to keep the back on the mat. And then lower that hand and leg down. Breathe in. Tummy pulls in again. Let's switch sides. Now extend the left leg out. Reach the right arm forward. Feel that tone through the front of the belly. Lift it up towards the front of the spine, and then float the arm and leg up without dumping down to the ground. Push away from the floor with that supporting arm and leg. Lift the ribs up, lift the front of those ribs up. Lift that belly button up to the front of the spine. Breathe in, breathe out, find your saran wrap. And then lower that arm and leg back down. Switch again, reach long, just right off, take right off. Right, so we're that pointer dog. Tummy pulls in. Now that your hip lift, keep your teacup balanced on your sacrum. Lower that arm and leg down, inhale. Other side, reach long. And then lower that back down. Now one more time, right leg out, left leg long. Stay on this side, breathe in. Tummy in, pull the knee and elbow together underneath you. And so now we're compressing the abs. And then inhale, reach long, lift the ribs up again. And then exhale, pull in. Inhale, reach. We're gonna do 4 of these. Pull it in, 3. Lift those abs up and inhale, reach. So you get a little bit of a curve here in the spine. And then you wanna flatten out, find your neutral. Ooh, lower that arm and leg back down. Other side, here we go. Reach long, breathe in. Pull that elbow and knee in. Inhale, reach. Keep lifting up the ribs, lift up the belly. That's some work. Pull it in 2. Compressing in those abs. Inhale, reach. Exhale, pull in 3. And inhale, reach long. One more, reach forward. Notice which side maybe feels a little easier. And reach. It's easier relative to the exercise. Come back down, sit back in child's pose. Good job, you guys. Breathe in and out here. Letting everything go. It's a lot of upper body. All right, so come onto your sides now. So we're gonna work on a little bit of just true side bending. And we're gonna need that again for one more little kind of bird dog variations in a moment. We're gonna give our wrists a break. So you're gonna come onto your elbows and you're gonna bend your bottom knee. So it's right under your hip. So we're gonna do a side plank prep, basically. This elbow's under your shoulder. So interesting with these side planks, make sure that your elbow isn't too far out from your shoulder. You actually want to hug it in a little bit. A lot of times when we lift, we tend to push out away from our arm, when in fact, as you lift up, you want to really shoot the crown of the head out over this elbow, right? So that your elbow stays right under the shoulder. That way you're more likely to get into the right muscles in the side of the body, your lats, your tricep will work in the arm. Okay, so here we are. I actually just have my bottom knee bent. Okay, I want you to inhale, just lower the hip down with control. And then exhale, use your waist to lift yourself up, right? I'm stable in these muscles around my armpit and in my arm, but I'm using my waist like someone could pull my shirt and pick me up from here, from the sideline of my body. So think pubic bone, breastbone, nose on the same line here, right? So don't let the head hang forward. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Feel those obliques fire. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Crown of the head reaches out. Inhale, lower. You even put your hand on your waist if that helps. And lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. You might feel the side of your hips working too. That's good. That glute medius. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. One more of those. Inhale, lower. Slowly lower. Exhale, lift. Feels different than when you just plop the hips down, right? So lift up and then slowly lower back down. Good job. Oh, let's try that on the other side. So hopefully that'll just wake up the whole side line of the body, right? Since our abdominals are kind of act like the cylinder around our body, we want to really get front, sides, and backs really awake and alive in all the angles that they can work, which is really every angle you could ever imagine. It's pretty cool. Any possible variation of movement, we can find it in our joints. So joints and our whole muscular structure. So bottom knee, make sure it's not in front of your hip, but I'm kind of trying to line that knee up with my bottom hip, right? So as you lift, make sure you don't push down towards your feet, but lift up and reach out over your elbow. Make sure that elbow's under your shoulder. Okay, so here we are on the new side. Feel the stability through the arm and around the bra line. You're going to inhale slowly, lower to about 8 of these. Exhale, lift. So right, so nose, breastbone, pubic bone, about on the same plane here. And lift, right, so like you're between 2 panes of glass. Inhale, lower. Exhale if we're not fogging the glass in front of us. Inhale, lower, slowly from the waist, lift. And down. And up. Reach that crown of the head long. Inhale, slow, lower. Notice the difference. One side to the other. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. I don't know, 3 more, lower. And lift. And lower, right? So sometimes just these little simple exercises can really get this waist and core to fire up, especially if you're moving a little more slowly, a little more intention. And lift from the waist, and then lower that back down. Great job. All right, come back onto all fours for me. So a little fun variation here. So we've got that side body connected now, that waist connected, the arms connected into the body. Find your all fours, thumbs under your nipples. You might want to do this, well, you could probably still roll your mat up if you want to. So now I want you to pull the tummy in, reach your right leg out. You're going to tuck the toes under, lift it up, feel the waist lift up, right? So now we know I'm going to keep this long. Now my right leg's up. Can you reach the right arm out in front of you? And then you're going to roll onto your side, right? Like a log roll. Reach the arm long, reach those toes out. And then you're going to slowly, whoa, come back down, pulling the tummy in. I'm going to bend my knee back to all fours with my head perched, nice and neutral alignment. And you're going to try the other side. So stretch the left leg out. Shift the light of your chest bone over your right wrist, right? So I'm shifting to my right wrist. Extend the left leg, lighten up that left hand. Come into your side bend or a little side plank. Shine the light of the chest to the wall on the opposite end of the room, and then slowly bring it back down. Again, you're going to feel a lot of fun stuff one side to the other. So that might just be rolling to here. Maybe you just keep the foot tapped on the ground. Sometimes that helps, right? Lifting the leg up is like, whoa, right? So you can keep the foot on the ground if you need it. And then roll it back down. Try the other side, so foot on or off the ground, right? Lift it up. And then we're gonna quicken the pace a little bit. I know I said slow is good, but also this one's fun, a little quicker. So here we go. Shift to the left wrist and up and down. Shift to the right wrist, up and down. And lift and down. Hopefully you guys are having fun. Lift, push into the ground, down. One more lift and down. Great. Child's pose one more time. Rest down on the mat. Nice deep breath in and out there. All right, and that was so much fun. So one place we haven't gone yet much is the back body. So we're gonna go onto our bellies. And we're gonna work on just a little bit of flight here. So we're gonna have the hands actually, let's have them down on the ground, palms off of the floor. So I'm kind of right by my shoulders here. Forehead on the mat. And now, again, we want to find our neutral pelvis. So you want to make sure your tush isn't up to the ceiling, but that your sacrum, that bone in between your hip bones, just gets heavy, sinking your pubic bone down towards the ground. Even on your belly, you can try to lift your abs up. So I'm trying to get my abs to almost lift up away from the mat, okay? So my elbows are down, palms are down on the ground. Focus down on the floor. I'm probably going to turn to you guys so I can talk to the camera here, but I want you to keep your focus down on the mat. On an inhale, roll the shoulders down away from the ears. I want you to lift the upper body up. Lift the palms up. So I'm coming about to the bottom tip of my shoulder blades here. Heavy pubic bone, tummy in. So now we're waking up the whole back body. And now as you lower, I actually want you to keep your hands off the ground. Just lower the head and neck down. Now remember, your neck starts like right at the top of the shoulders. So try not to just lift the head, but lift the entire head and neck up. Keep the back of the neck long. My hands are still off the ground. Can you, right here, lift the tummy up off of the floor? See how that helps sink your pubic bone down a bit more? Inhale as you lower, keep those hands hovered. Exhale, lift. Lift the entire head and neck up. Back of the neck is long, but this time add the legs, lift them up. Hover here, waking up the back of the body. Reach your arms long down towards your toes. My palms are up to the ceiling. Breathe in, breathe out. Can you lift your belly up again? Sliding those shoulders gently down towards, as if you had jeans on, towards your back jean pockets. Breathe in, and then breathe out and release. So just a little wake up for the back of the body. Now, we're going to move into swimming. So we're in this sort of oppositional patterning here. I'm going to turn the other way, actually. I'm a little bit in my plants over there. I got a little more space for my arms here. Okay, so you've got a V with your legs, a V with your arms. So all that connection we just found, I want you to feel those abs lift up, sacrum just nestles down. I want you to lift your right arm, your left leg up, and then also the head and neck. Keep the neck long. So if your chin is looking forward here, we've gone the wrong way. See what that does to the back of your neck? It just shortens it. That's where we are in the computer all day long. So I want you to tuck the chin under and elongate those muscles along the back of the neck. If you have a little double chin, you're doing it right. It's our natural Botox. Try the other side. A little bit of a double chin. Feel the length through the back of the neck. Opposite arm and leg lift. And lower. Again, lift, opposite arm and leg. Shoulders sliding down towards those back jean pockets and lower. Lift, opposite arm and leg up, and then lower back down. Now, lift all four limbs up. And I'm not talking about height, I'm thinking length. I'm hovered off the ground. My belly's lifting up as if I were Superwoman, flying through the sky. Now lift the right arm and left leg up a little higher and then switch. So my limbs never touch the ground. Switch opposite arm and leg. I'm maybe going inhale, inhale, exhale, exhale. And if you've got it, you can start to really flutter kick. As long as you're still doing opposite arm and leg and not the same arm and leg. Really try to get that coordination. So if it gets confusing, slow it down. Breathe in. Breathe out, tummy in. One more, breathe in. Breathe out and relax. Oh, good. Bend your knees and just do a little windshield wiper with your legs right and left. It's so easy with the neck to kind of jet the chin forward. It's just where we go, right? We tend to be a lot shorter and tighter in the back of our neck, a little weaker in the front. So the more we can do to find that length, the more tone we're going to get in the front of the neck. And that's not a bad thing. All right, I'm sweating, you guys. Let's go, let's lie down on our backs. So from here, I want you to find your tabletop again. So by this point, you should feel a nice neutral spine, feel that nice saran wrap. Reach the arms up to the ceiling. Now we've got the connection of the back body that we just practiced. Your arms are moving from your back. I want you to reach the hands over your head. Keeping the ribs on the floor. Inhale, lift the head up, look towards those knees. Exhale, roll up. We didn't do roll ups. Sorry, we're just gonna go right into a teaser. But those abs should be warm. And we're gonna balance right on top of the shoulders, slide the shoulders down. Breathe in here. And now this is a posterior tilt to the pelvis. I want you to roll your pelvis back. Right? Can you really shape those hips to roll back instead of leaning from the shoulders? Move the hips back to the mat as slow as you can. Oh, so gracefully down to the ground, and then tap the thumbs on the floor overhead. Feel those ribs on the mat. Feel your neutral pelvis. Breathe in, nod the chin to the chest. Exhale and roll up. Find your balance. Shoulders sliding down, breathe in. Scoop that tail under and roll back. Slow and controlled. If you need to, hold your thighs to slow it down. Sometimes that'll really help you feel each little vertebrae land a little bit better onto the mat, and then your brains can start to think about it and help that happen more naturally. One more time, breathe in. Exhale, roll up. Ooh, I kind of have to reach my legs out to get myself up there. Good, this time reach those arms up. Inhale, arms from the back. Exhale, lower the arms down. Now open your right arm to the side and then bring it back to the center. Open the left arm out, so with a little rotation. Back to the center. One more time, arms lift up. Exhale down. Your right arm opens. Back to the center. Left arm opens. Back to the center, and this time cross those ankles, and then just hang forward over those legs. All right, so we're gonna end with a little mermaid. So I'm gonna face you guys. Bend your knees, both feet towards your right. Hold on to something that belongs to you over here. I'm grabbing my shin. Bring your other arm behind your head, and then just come into a nice side bend. So I've used this image before. It's like this fisherman's hook to your elbow, pulling your elbow up to the ceiling. So you're not just slouching down, but you're really hanging that elbow up. Shoulders glide away from the ears. Even here, press the back of your head slightly back into your hands. See if that helps realign your ears over your shoulders. Bring that up. Try the same thing the other way. Now, when we go the other way, I want you to try to create a sideways C. So you're going to bend up and over. That means that my bottom elbow bends. And I'm pouring water out of my ear. Again, a fisherman's pulling my elbow up. I breathe in and out. Lift yourself up. This time, a nice long stretch up and over. Inhale. And exhale through the center. A little more flow. Inhale, stretch. And exhale, lift. One more each side. Inhale, stretch. And exhale, lower. Inhale, stretch. And exhale out. Good. So our fancy move, I want you to swing your legs around to the other side. So just those side bends today. So adjust your pants if you need to. Hold on to your shin, something that belongs to you over here. Hand behind the head. And then you're going to lengthen the side of the body. I want you to focus on breathing into these ribs. The shoulders sliding away from the ears. Breathe in. You can even use this hand and pull a little bit, as long as the elbow's still reaching up to the ceiling, up to the top of the water. And then let's try that on the other side, right? So instead of just leaning out to the side, well, that doesn't do much, right? I'm gonna try to find my sideways C, spill water out of that bottom ear. Right, so that bottom elbow bend helps that happen. Breathe into these top ribs. You're not gonna get as much of a stretch on this side just because of how the legs are positioned. So that's what we want to try to get some stretch happening. We have to do a little muscular work to get that to happen. And then let's flow through, lifting up and over. And back. Inhale, stretch. Through the center. One more each way, stretch up. Shoulders just hanging off the arms. And last one, stretch. And up. Great. Reach those legs in front of you. Lean back to shake out your legs. And then maybe just give your thighs a little squeeze down the quads, down the shins, down the tops of the feet, and then the backs of the legs, down the backs of the calves, bottoms of the feet, a little bit on the side of the leg, a little inside, just kind of squeezing out through there, and just squeezing out through the arms, just a little compression, maybe circle that wrist a few times, squeeze out the other side, all the way up and down, circle that wrist, reach the arms out to the side, give yourself a hug, thank your body for the work it does for you, other arm on top. We are fortunate to move in the ways we can. Thanks you guys for coming today. Hopefully that core feels a little more awake. We did it. How do you feel?